the key is around resiliency, because what we know is that a child with a mental health disorder does not necessarily have poor mental health. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. A child can have anxiety or ADHD and depression and still have good mental health as long as they have built key character traits. And when they are able to build strong character traits, which I'll talk about in a minute, then they'll be able to build resiliency. And that helps them overcome challenges and stress in a way that promotes health and wellness. You can help build a child's resiliency and help support themselves through challenges. So we've identified a number of critical areas that will help diffuse the ticking time bomb. So the key character traits: creating a welcoming environment, having a caring adult leading the program, having engagement strategies in place, having a strengths-based decision-making model for when things are not going well, and strong communication with children and their parents. So all of these elements are part of a new online module that High Five created called Healthy Minds for Healthy Children. And anyone who, some of you may have taken this module before, but if you've ever taken High Five Principles of Healthy Child Development or High Five Sport, you get access to that module for free through the High Five database. So what I'm going to do is give you some highlights of these 6 areas that we cover in Healthy Minds for Healthy Children. So the key character traits. A child who develops these key character traits is more likely to build resiliency. And this is critical to their ability to handle mental health distress or mental health disorders. So let me give you an example of the ability to cope. So you're thinking, okay, that's a great list, but how do I actually do that? Well, in your program, there's all kinds of moments that happen throughout the program, and what we're suggesting is that there are teachable moments that you can take advantage of. And for example, on this case, a player makes a pass. You're playing a game, a player makes a pass, but the pass is intercepted and the other team scores. So what can happen is that a child who made the pass and got intercepted starts to have a meltdown. They're very upset. Maybe other kids on the team are being, they may be saying you suck, you can't play, we don't want you on your team. It makes the situation worse. Or the other players might be helpful and telling them it doesn't matter, it's okay, we'll get them next time. So depending on every situation and the children who are in your program, you can adjust to the moment. But what you want to do is ensure that the child who is not coping well with a situation understands that not every outcome can be predicted. So, you know, if you take the example of that player making the pass and the pass was intercepted, okay, maybe you didn't know that that person was going to come up and intercept the pass. But maybe some choices could be better than others. So there could have been somebody else who was open and it was less likely that the pass would be intercepted. And you can have the child think about, what options would I do? So what would I do next time that would be different than what I did this time? And what did I learn from this situation? And what would I be able to do in the future to help me cope with the situation better? So what that does is put the leader or the coach in a position of, instead of trying to just manage a meltdown, it's an opportunity to actually move the child forward in their ability to cope. There's not always going to be a perfect answer for every situation that comes along, but I want you to always think about what could I do, and what key character traits, if we go back to this list, what key character trait might the child be lacking that is is creating this issue? And how could I work to help them develop that key character trait so that they could then handle this situation better in the future? And that is a key element of developing resiliency and helping the child move forward on their own. The best thing that you can do when working with children is help them help themselves. We don't want is to just be going in and solving everything for them. We want them to be able to do it on their own. And this is key. Is as adults, often we want to just go and fix everything, but it's critical to their development that they can actually fix it on their own. All right. So what else do we want to make sure is in place to help a child? Well, it must be a welcoming environment. It must be a safe place, and again, both physically and emotionally. There has to be supervision by a caring adult, and there has to be opportunities for learning in some way. So the caring adult, and for those of you who've ever taken high five training and principles of healthy child development or high five sport or quest, we always reinforce the importance of a caring adult because we know that if a child develops a relationship with a caring adult, it can help them overcome almost anything. They're just having that person that they know is there to listen to them is critical. And of course, if they're providing a positive model, role model and relationship model, then that's really great for the child to help them through any stressful situation that they could be going through. To know that there's someone who they might see on a weekly basis or if they're lucky on a daily basis that they can go to talk about some of these things is really important for children. And really, you do not want to minimize you don't want to minimize your role in creating those relationships and those experiences for children. So when you have a child who might be difficult to engage, there are many ways to engage or interact with that child. And what we know are some engagement strategies can be better than others. So again, we want you to be doing some activities here. So what we have are a number of engagement strategies. And what we want you to do is rate the engagement strategy as a red, a strategy to avoid, a yellow, that this would be something you may want to try, but you might want to be cautious, or a green. And this one you would say, this would be a good strategy to try. So this is a child who is not engaging. The child is in your program, and you're trying to figure out how to engage that child. So what we know is that some will work better than others, but there's a number of things that people try to do when a child is not engaging. And by not engaging, they might be standing off to the side and sort of being alone, but they also might be creating a disturbance in your program and engaging others, but not being engaged with the activity. So when we say they're not engaged, it could take multiple formats. So we'll bring up the first engagement strategy, and I want you to click on red, yellow, or green, or not sure if you're not sure, to say whether or not you think this would be, what kind of strategy this would be. Okay, so yes, we started with an easy one. Focus on the strengths and potential of all children. And yes, that is green. So very good. All right. So next strategy, labeling children. All right. Yes, everyone just about thought that it was red, and you are correct. Now, I noticed that a couple of people did pick yellow, and I have heard people say, but what if the parent comes in and says, my child has ADHD, and and you know, they may not uh, be engaged in this activity. Is that labeling children? And what we would say is, yes, parents would come in, and it's great when they give you some knowledge about their child and give you some insight and say, here are some issues that we've dealt with, and I know my child has difficulties here or with this activity. And that information is very good. What we would not want is that you are using that as a strategy in terms of telling others and identifying that that's the key issue. That's we're not saying that that's what you have to address. We're not addressing the ADHD. We're addressing what other things are happening that are causing the child to not engage. Because being ADHD does not mean that the child will not engage. So that's why that's a red. All right. So the next one, adapt your approach to the unique characteristics or needs of the child. Okay. And I see an example from Lisa um, saying that having ADHD is not the same as being ADHD. And you're absolutely correct. So thank you for clarifying that and ensuring that, again, it's not something that we want to focus on, and we want to focus on, again, developing the relationship with the child and looking at, again, on this answer, the unique characteristics and needs of the child and adapting whatever you're doing because of those unique characteristics and needs of the child. Uh, every child living with ADHD has unique characteristics and needs. And so, again, developing relationships with the child will help you understand what you need to do to change that approach. Okay, and then the next question, being control-oriented. So, a battle between red and yellow seems to be winning on being control-oriented. So I would anticipate, and feel free to write in why you think that being control-oriented would be yellow instead of red. As I see multiple attendees are typing. Yes, and as a teacher or staff, that you need control over the program in order for the program to be successful, and having routine and having a plan, and some need routine and structure. And then David saying depends what meant by control. Example, uh, are you given, or the inability to cope, for sure. And what would that mean for the child? And yes, the ones who think that this was read as interpreting as being controlling the child and being over-controlled, um, that can be a problem. And actually, this strategy is actually a red strategy, um, but only when we're talking about not being open to um, options. So if you are too focused on controlling the outcomes and controlling the actions of everyone and not being flexible, that's when it can be a red strategy. So control-oriented in this instant really meant not being open and not having the flexibility to change the activity, to um, adapt activities, to adapt to situations, to run with things if they seem to be working well, things like that. So it is these are sometimes, again, people think, well, if I have good control of the group, then I'm going to manage any behavioral issues that come up. But sometimes it can also squash any flexibility that comes with that. And there aren't opportunities to help children move through potential time bomb areas. So that's why we would say it's a red. So thank you all for your responses. Okay, another one, assuming inclusion. So what I mean by this is that you are assuming that everyone will respond well and include everyone else. All right, and so now I've scared you all, and you all think that it's a strategy to avoid. However, um, we have made this yellow because the experts say if you um, know that it's a small group and you know those other children really well, it could be an opportunity to ensure that the child is taken care of and nurtured by a group. Where we would be cautious of this strategy is if it was a group of children that you didn't know well and you were dealing with a child who wasn't engaging and you assumed that if you put them in this one group, that all the children would welcome them openly and it would all be very well received by all around. So what we know is that that can often be the case. And you would know that if you had been working with these children for a long time and you had a good relationship with the other children who you were then going to put the child who's not engaging well with. So I hope that was clear. But essentially, it can be a strategy to move a child into a group where you know that they will be well received and included and feel welcomed. But don't ever assume that children will just respond the way that you hope they'll respond. You need to definitely know that that will happen. Finding and fixing what is wrong with the child. And the battle continues between red and yellow. And we often see this with this one about finding and fixing what is wrong with the child. I think that what happens is as adults, we often are trying to look for the answer. We're desperately trying to find out what we can do better and how do we fix. But really what we want is that we're not looking for you to find and fix. We are looking for you to engage children. And we would also say there's nothing wrong with the child. We are um, we are looking for strengths always in every child, and so we're not trying to fix anything. What we're trying to do is help children develop resiliency so that they can manage their own crises when they come up and be able to manage their own stress and situations throughout their life. And I see Tracy has made the comment, we are not therapists, and that is absolutely true. We're not we're not trying to equip you to be a therapist, although what we know, again, is as a caring adult, children will often come to you and confide in you and tell you things and make you feel like, you should be a therapist uh, for what they are talking to you about. But what we're going to do today is talk you through, so if that happens, then where do you go with that? So we would say that we don't want you to look for anything. It is a red yes. And but what we want you to focus on is developing the relationship with the child. So give children options even when options are limited. Yes, everyone's got it. It's green. So always have options. Options are great. Okay. Oh, did I go back? Oh, yes. Okay. So that was great, and I'm glad that, thank you for all participating in that and adding your comments as we went along, because I think that adds a lot. I speak about this topic a lot, so I've heard a lot of discussion around this, and I know that sometimes it's difficult for people to try to see what their role is. And again, I just want to stress that we're not asking you to become mental health experts at all. We just want to set you up for success to engage children. So there's some red strategies. Those are some more yellow strategies. We just gave you some examples. And then there's other green strategies. So what we know is that some engagement strategies may work better than others. So you may try something and it works and you think, I'm awesome, this is no problem, I have this. And then the next time you try to do it, it won't work and you'll get frustrated. So just know that some engagement strategies are going to work right away and others will take more time, and every child is unique, and the key is to build a relationship with them so that you can know how best to help that child.